Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Connecticut Psychological Association Social Justice Speaker Series. We are honored to have Melissa Burton as our esteemed speaker. Tonight, we'll do the screening of Period End of Sentence, the 2019 Academy Award winning Netflix documentary. Following the film, Melissa will lead a dialogue on menstrual equity, education, empowerment, and the psychological impact of stigma. A warm welcome, Melissa. My name is Shiva, and I'm the chair of the Social Justice Committee. Joining me today are our dedicated social justice members, Anne, Beth, Andrew, and Kyler. Lena unfortunately couldn't join tonight. Also, the CPA Executive Director, Megan, is with us to support, for which we are grateful. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Beth to share about our generous donors who keep this essential work going.
Thank you. The Social Justice Speaker Series serves as a catalyst for our shared goals to empower ourselves, our clients, and the community we live in. To sustain this essential work, we depend on fundraising and the generosity of those who believe in the power of education and awareness of our biases. We sincerely appreciate all donations moving forward and are genuinely grateful to our sponsors. Your support, along with those that have been listed on the slides, provide the foundation that keeps this vital work alive and thriving. Now I'll pass it along to Anne to share more information with you.
So, on behalf of the Planning Committee, we are thrilled that you could join us this evening, and we sincerely hope you will continue to attend our future speaker sessions. We are excited about Melissa Burton's presentation and the Academy Award-winning Netflix documentary tonight. As a brief reminder, the CPA Social Justice Speaker Series offers free monthly meetings to CPA members, the wider Connecticut community, and our nationwide supporters. I welcome you to our speaker series this evening. Now I'll hand it over to Andrew to briefly discuss the PAD project, followed by our speaker's biography.
Hello, everyone. The PAD Project is a global nonprofit dedicated to expanding access to menstrual care products, challenging period stigma, and advancing menstrual equity for all. Founded in 2013 by a high school teacher and her students, the organization grew from the Academy Award-winning documentary, Period End of Sentence, into an international movement for change. Through its threefold approach, access, agency, and advocacy, the PAD Project funds and supports programs that provide menstrual products, create women-led social enterprises, and deliver menstrual health education tailored to local communities. To date, the organization has launched pad machine and washable pad initiatives across multiple countries and developed US-based programs such as Pads for All, Pads for Schools, and Pad for Schools to combat period poverty nationwide. By partnering with NGOs, schools, and grassroots organizations around the world, the PAD Project continues to empower individuals and communities to achieve dignity, health, and equity through menstrual equity. Now I would like to share our esteemed speaker's biography. Melissa Burton is the executive director and founder of the PAD Project, the Academy Award-winning producer for documentary short in 2019 for Period End of Sentence. She is a social activist, speaker, educator, and the founder and executive director of the PAD Project, a global nonprofit dedicated to the principle that a period should end a sentence, not a girl's education. Under her leadership, the PAD Project has partnered in 15 countries to expand access to menstrual health products and education while fostering youth-led advocacy to end period poverty. In 2021, Melissa was named to the inaugural Forbes 50 over 50 Dreamers and Doers Women Making Social Impact. A Los Angeles-based teacher, writer, and speaker, Burton teaches English at Oakwood School in North Hollywood, where the PAD Project began, and where she annually leads the largest student delegation to the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. In recognition of her human rights work and mobilization of youth advocates to promote menstrual equity, She received the 2019 Eleanor Roosevelt Global Women's Rights Award and the 2023 Last Girl Award to end human trafficking. I am honored to invite Melissa Burton to guide us through what promises to be an insightful and inspiring presentation. Melissa, the stage is yours.
Wow. Thank you so much, Andrew, for that beautiful introduction. And thank you for inviting me here and for all your work to get me here. It's an honor to be with the Connecticut Psychological Association. I met Andrew with another great nonprofit, the Oxford Consortium for Human Rights, because menstruating with dignity should be a human right. I'm going to sort of take you backwards and do a little bit of backstory before you see the film, actually forward story, then back, then the film, but it'll all make sense. I am a high school English teacher. I don't know how a high school English teacher, or it's a crazy journey, I should say, how a high school English teacher ended up winning an Academy Award for a nonprofit about menstruation. I couldn't have predicted that when I was my students' age, but I hope to share a little bit about that, how that happened. And just to be clear for the guests here, period poverty is simply the lack of access to hand washing facilities, clean and safe toilets, and a means to manage one's period. So around the world, 1 in 4 students doesn't have the supplies she needs to go to school when she has her period. And also around the world, women are barred from many places and can't participate as full and equal citizens because of what should be a natural process. So we're going to go backwards and we're going to go to this Oscar moment and then sort of explain how we got there a little bit. And the people that you're about to see taking the stage with me are my students. And I should say, Raika Zatopsy, the director of the film.
Andrew, we cannot hear.
Hello. It's suspenseful. We heard it when we tested it.
Would you like to share this sound one more time? Stop sharing and share the sound one more time.
Andrew, do you need to unmute yourself?
Well, he's unmuting himself. I'll just say, because people ask me, you know how they think, oh, if you're in the front rows, you know you're going to win. They actually, because documentary short is not like one of the big categories. We were way back there, but right 5 minutes before they call which category wins, then they move all the nominees to the closer rows. And then so we had no idea. We were absolutely crazed, but we don't need to see the whole video. But if you can get the sound from where you were, that's perfect. Oh.
My creative partner, Sam Davis, I share this with you, baby. Thank you to my mom and my sister. I love you guys. To Lisa Tayback and Garrett Schiff. To Gunit Monga and the women of Katagira, know that you are empowering women all over the world to fight for menstrual equality. This film began because high school students here and our brave partners at Action India wanted to make a difference, a human rights difference. I share Ellen, Claire, Amy, Ruby, Sophie, Charlotte, Carly, the entire PAD project team with the Oakwood School. I share this with teachers and with students around the world. A period should end a sentence, not a girl's education.
Okay, still it's nerve-wracking to see that moment. But I will say that that is the moment that launched our nonprofit. And after that, we got so many donations from around the world, mostly donations under $10. But that totaled enough donations to sort of seed the PAD project nonprofit. And I just wanted to say, because you're going to see our film, which is set in India, that period poverty, sadly, is something that's alive and well in the United States, in high income, low income, and middle income countries. And I'll never forget that the day after we won the Oscar, I was flooded with emails. They came in huge sheets. I had to get a tech person to actually open emails, and so many stories, but one of them was from a young woman right down the block from where I live, asking could she please find a way to help, that she had to stuff her underwear with socks because her family couldn't afford menstrual products for her. So the next little teaser we're going to see before the film is actually how we raised the money to make the film, which was no small feat. We were used to having bake sales and that kind of thing, but we were told that in order to make a documentary, we were first quoted $800,000. Then we knew we couldn't do that, but then people said maybe you could make a documentary for like $50,000, $60,000. So my students and I chose Kickstarter as our platform, and there you'll learn a little bit about the students. I feel a little squeamish watching it now because I feel like it has a little of that Western savior kind of thing. But I also know that all of us, the students and all of us, have learned so much since then. And within 2 days of the Kickstarter campaign that you'll see, we became one of Kickstarter's projects we loved. We aimed for a $39,000 goal. We made it within 2 days. People were astonished, but I think that's simply because half the world's population menstruates and people underestimated how many people might care about this issue. So I just want to show you the Kickstarter of how it all started, and then we'll go to the film. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
And now Melissa will take over again.
Okay, well, thank you, Andrew. And I have no idea how glitchy or not glitchy that was for you on your screens. I'm hoping that you were able to see it well enough. And I'll just say I want to leave time for questions. And I know that it took some time, but just one thing that's fascinating to think about is that the human race would not be here were it not for the reproductive cycle. The menstrual cycle is part of the reproductive cycle. And yet this movement for menstrual justice, for menstrual equity, is really in its infancy. People have menstruated since people have been here. And yet this movement is new. One of the lines that resonates with me still from the film is when Suman, in whose house the pad machine says, when there's a patriarchy, things take a long time. And as an English teacher, we're reading often those sort of beginning texts of origin, whether it's the Odyssey or Beowulf or all of those. And you can see how women and girls in those texts are relegated to the margins. And so I think that this stigma associated with menstruation has a history that is very old. And so it's no wonder that we don't have the right amount of equity when it comes to making sure that people are handled when it comes to their menstrual needs. And I'll talk really quickly about intersections between menstruation that people don't think about as much. which is that in many communities, once a girl begins menarche, which is the onset of menstruation, she then becomes um, ready to be a child bride. In some cultures, also ready to be trafficked. All of these things happen, making her more vulnerable. In many countries around the world, women do not go to secondary school. They only go to elementary school. And so part of what the PAD project hopes to do is provide supplies and materials so that girls can stay in school longer past the onset of menarche. And I don't know. So many different things, but I want to find out where you want to go in your questions. So I'm happy to open it up to questions about the film. The PAD project works in, as Andrew said, in 15 different countries. Each country is different. Of course, we get a lot of questions about uh, eco-conscious period products. So I'm happy to talk about that. And but anyway, let me open it up to all of you and see where you want to go.
I have a comment. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, so my comment, my background is a psychologist, and I think all I mean, I'm new to this area, by the way. I'm not, in a in a teaching kind of position in general. I'm just kind of observing. Um, and I think that, all the best problem solving comes from increased awareness and putting something on the table. And it seems like at least in this culture, and I actually just came back from India about a week and a half ago, the whole conversation and awareness and just putting it on the table, the idea that women, have periods, I'm sure they know that, but putting it on the table that this is a need and that this is something that has to be addressed, it kind of starts something that's much more, it's like a starting place for things to get increasingly put in a more positive place in terms of all the implications of that.
That's exactly right. And the machine that was in the village of Katikera, the uncle thought it was a diaper machine making diapers or Huggies. And in the beginning, some stuff that we wish we could have captured on film, but weren't able to. People were upset because women were having agency and making money, and they were going to this place and making things. They were making and so there was somebody who went and tried to dismantle the machine at night, an upset man. Later, later, when they learned what it was, they embraced it. And you see at the end of the film where there's I made a good pad. And so eventually I think that just as you said, awareness destigmatizes. I think in the United States we need to get much more boys and men in the conversation. There are organizations that have banded together to make a period positive workplace to make sure that pads and tampons and things to manage your periods are in restrooms and public spaces. To take a recent example, you all remember Tim Walz, who ran for vice president. He was dubbed Tampon Tim by the opposition, and you can just sort of see there how the stigma, if the biggest way to emasculate and criticize a person is to call him Tampon Tim, it's like, where are we even? I hate to use the word psychologically with this group, but where are we sort of as a nation if that is the biggest way to insult somebody that we think by calling him Tampon Tim? I mean, so, and the reason he was dubbed that, by the way, was because he passed legislation to make period products free in restrooms, so in public schools. So, anyway, so there's all kinds of things. And then just when we were making the film, people didn't made sure that we didn't have any blood in the film. when you think of how much blood is in films that are glorified by our country, war films and all of that, but that a period blood is what is really scary, is frightening. One of the Hollywood Reporter does an edition where they ask longstanding members of the Academy to sort of vote on the lesser known categories, what's going to win. He said a movie about periods neither I nor any of my male friends of the director's branch of the Academy would ever vote for a film about periods because that is, I quote, too icky. So that's where we are in 2019. So it's just kind of staggering, though change is happening. And we just had the wildfires here in Los Angeles. And we are happy that people are recognizing that along with food and shelter, people need menstrual supplies if you're displaced and if you're exiting a natural disaster or a man-made disaster, human-made disaster, I should say. But anyway, I see Christina and questions or hands.
Yeah, I'll just jump in with some practical questions. Three things. Are people reusing the pads? Are they washing them and reusing them? How are they disposing of them? And what other uses are they coming up with for them? I've seen them used for, just carrying for emergencies when there's an accident and someone needs something for stopping blood or having a barrier between themselves and trying to stop blood in a bleeding victim.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's how pads were originally sort of invented. They recognized that they were a good way to stop blood and wounds, and they are used that way. So to go to your first question first, washable pads, what you saw in the film are disposable pads. Those pads are made from locally sourced, from a loblolly pine, from a locally sourced material. They're almost 100% biodegradable, and I understand the argument that if it's not 100%, it's not 100%, but they are biodegradable. There are fully biodegradable pads, but some women don't find them comfortable. I think that's still something we should be able to do, is get a comfortable 100% biodegradable pad. So those are disposable pads, which are the most user-friendly and culturally sensitive around the world. So washable pads are pads made of like cloth that you sew, and we support what's called washable pad programs, and you can reuse those pads after you wash them. The only thing about that is that the community that you're in, you have to have clean water. You have to have a way to dry them, so it can't be a very rainy climate if you don't have a washer dryer. And you also have to be comfortable hanging them on a clothesline, which for some cultures is not possible, but that is an excellent thing to do for many cultures. And then now there's something called a menstrual cup, which many of you might be familiar with, which is inserted and reusable. It's a high barrier for many because it has a high first cost, but you can reuse it. The problem with menstrual cups is that they involve insertion. And so in many cultures, a girl's virginity will be in question if she uses a menstrual cup. So that's not okay. And also many women and girls don't find them physically comfortable. So, but for some people, they're an excellent option. So those are the product rundown. And I'm not sure if I got to all your questions, but okay. Anne, you had.
Sorry, I'm just unmuting. So, yeah, I've actually heard the same thing. Even with Connecticut, we have Dignity Grows, and I heard they by and large don't give out um, menstrual cups for cultural reasons, is what I was told. But the question I have is just how much money does it take to have that machine? I missed that in the documentary.
So it's changed a lot so we actually purchased that machine in 2016. We were in a relationship with that community since 2013. That machine cost $11,000, and it's a human run manual machine. Now there are electric pad making machines that can cost $80,000 or $100,000 that can produce many more pads, but may not employ as many people. So then it becomes about marketing and distribution, and you need to make sure where the pad machine is, that there are people who are going to receive the pads. So there are very particular communities for whom a pad machine is going to work. And there are different vendors throughout India, also in West Africa, that still use the pad machine that work. The one that you see in the film, we've replaced it with two better machines in two different places, but they range from, yeah, I don't think you could get one anymore for 11,000, but I'd say they range from 20,000 to even 100,000, but that would be like more for like a base with a lot of people or a college or someplace where people could really use them, or hospital.
Cool. And Melissa, a follow-up question, and this is very judgmental on my part, I think, but
No
how
worries.
come men were involved subsequently if it was supposed to be empowering women, and then at the end we see more men involved in the process? I just wondered, like I know that's part of them. I was like, wow, they're now invested in this, and then they're talking about menstruation, and but I still wondered if you were losing the essence of some of the initial work. Just
I know,
curious.
I completely understand that thought. And so so the wages they were getting paid for the working on the pad machine were better than the wages they were making working in the field. But culturally, in the village where we were, and it varies, they all gave that money back to their families and back to the men. So as Suman says, patriarchy, it takes a long time. Uh, so, but we are proud of the fact that menstruation itself was destigmatized. And Suman and Sneha, they were here when the we won the Academy Award, the aspiring police officer and Suman. And when they came back to India, India was having its own sort of elections, and I think the only place where Oscars are bigger than Hollywood is in Bollywood in India, and so they were celebrities when they came back, and so they started going along with politicians on different campaigns, and so it was so now they're both menstrual equity advocates in India. Sneha is married happily, but yeah, so I yeah no I hear you definitely, yeah.
All right,
Thank
and
you
in
so
chat,
much. Yes. Do you want to read the chat box? And
sure. In chat, Joanna Rosen had a question. She said, for those villages who lack consistent electricity and running water, are there schools, villages guided in how to provide sanitary locations for girls to change their pads? This would be the main impediment to staying in school during menstrual period otherwise.
Absolutely. So we are really proud that at the PAD project, what we do is we work with nonprofits on the ground in the different areas that we work. And so those nonprofits with whom we work help those communities receive the education that they need to do the things. And sometimes those are real barriers, and we can't always compensate for that, but we try. And as a yes, yay for extraordinary connections.
You know, can I say one other thing?
sure.
Please.
It's almost 8. So for those people who want to have the see, we are going to put it on the chat. But please.
Okay, very, very quickly. I liked what Anne mentioned, the I think she called the Dignity Project. And I think that the term dignity and kind of that idea of kind of a broader context of human dignity and that can cover a whole bunch of different things. But that being, I thought that was, when you talk about a starting place and what it might kind of how it might expand and produce good stuff, that kind of concept of bringing in kind of human dignity around all sorts of bodily processes. And, that's all, I think, a positive direction
Absolutely.
for humans.
Yeah, 100%. And I see Jennifer from Dignity Grows, and we love Dignity Grows, one of our first partners, and we're so glad for the work that they are doing to promote dignity. And it is a matter of dignity. And so many of the letters and the communication that we get at the PAD project are from people, a young woman in Sierra Leone who couldn't finish her exams because she got her period and bled through her uniform, and there were no supplies for her, so she couldn't go on to become, in her case, she wanted to be a doctor, and she had to go back 2 years because she couldn't sit for her exam if she's bleeding through her uniform. So just, basic things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our school is not an all-girls school. Oakwood School is a co-ed school. And while there weren't boys in making the documentary, I'm proud to say there were a lot of proud dads, without whose help proud dads and moms who really wanted to pitch in for their daughters and gave us a lot of valuable advice about how to start a nonprofit, how to make a film, how to edit. So they were in there for their daughters, fathers, and mothers, and that was a really beautiful thing.
Excellent, Melissa. I think, I don't know if we are gonna have more questions in the chat. So, our speaker, before the event, promised that to stay here for a couple of more minutes after we end the event. So, Kyler, would you like to go with the closing remarks?
Absolutely. So this is important because this is going to be a little bit different than how we normally do things. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're excited to announce that our next event is actually next week on December 11th with Dr. David Frank as our featured speaker. And what he's going to do is focus on the topic of universal human rights and trauma and what's going on with the Israeli-Palestinian relationship. And so I want to emphasize that together we are the facilitators of change and empowerment for individuals and our community. Regardless of the amount, again, your generous donation to our social justice speaker series helps ensure that education and awareness remain powerful tools for making a difference in our community. So as I'm speaking, the donation link and mailing address are going to be available in the chat if you'd like to support us. And then again, for those registered for continuing education, I saw it was posted before, but maybe if we kind of refresh it since there's been more chat since then, I invite you to complete the CE evaluation link. And you're going to see your certificate that's also going to be added to the chat now. And once again, thank you all for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, all of you. Melissa, thank you so much, and congratulations on such a project.
Thank you. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here.
And motivated. Thank you for accepting our invitation. And Andrew, thank you for all the work behind the scene to make this happen. So our speaker is going to stay for a few more minutes if there are more comments or questions.
Great.
I'm going to ask a quick question. Thank you so much for your talk. This was very inspiring. I wonder, how did you find this community to go and film them? And how was the process of them accepting to be in a film? Did they need the consent or something?
Yeah, all of these are really important questions. So the PAD project started, was born out of another fantastic nonprofit, which is called Girls Learn International. Girls Learn International is a program of the Feminist Majority Foundation that seeks to educate girls to the same degree as boys worldwide. And as part of that, they send girls to the Commission on the Status of Women at the United Nations. So that's 16-year-olds. And two of my students, 16 is the youngest you're allowed to go. You have to be at least 16. And two of my enterprising students who had joined Girls Learn International said, "Hey, Melissa, will you be the faculty chaperone for this group and come with us?" This was in 2012. I said, "Of course." And that's where we learned about this issue. And also one of Girls Learn International's partner is called Action India. They're a nonprofit based in Delhi. And so we got to talking. Gauri Chowdhury, who is a wonderful woman who recently passed away, she and I started working on this because she was aware of Morgan Antham's machines. And so her Girls Learn International students and my Girls Learn International students decided that we wanted to make menstrual equity our cause. And so we joined forces and worked over a period of several years. And so the when and our director speaks English. She does not speak Hindi, but we had a line producer in India who was the intermediary and a lot of time building trust with that community before we went in to make the documentary.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Awesome.
Long project. And some of the girls that you
Yeah.
saw like taking the stage with me, they're now, 29, 30, and a lot of them are volunteers for the PAD project. A lot of them are employees of the PAD project, although we're a small team, but yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful, very long project. Wow. Congratulations. Wow.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for your question, Helia. Thank you again for this beautiful event. And I think we can say bye and with all the appreciation that you do and also to our participants. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.